She writes, edits, voices things, and makes people sound good. She believes everyone has a story, and she'd love to hear yours. Let's give her a round of applause.
They made me first, so no pressure. I love to talk. When I was a little girl growing up on a farm, I made up voices for my farm animals, so I would never run out of conversation opportunities. Not surprisingly, I became a professional disc jockey when I was 17, so woohoo. But when did I learn to stop talking and actually listen to what other people were saying? It's when I understood the power of story and what I gained by listening to other people share their stories. This made me a better interviewer and later a better writer because I chose to listen, just like you're doing now. Now, choosing to listen, actively listening, is how you mindfully communicate with someone else. When you choose to set aside perceptions of what you think someone is saying, when you don't filter what you hear based on your expectations or experiences, and actually fully hear what that other person means. And this is tricky, isn't it? Because there are so many distractions. Our minds are constantly in motion, whether it's external interferences or to-do lists in our minds running constantly. And today we have the ability to stay constantly connected with everyone, which sometimes makes us feel like we have to splinter ourselves in order to take in everything. So, mindful listening. To actively listen, we have to consciously will ourselves to focus on another person. We have to need to be able to look into someone else's eyes, set aside distractions, and open our ears and our minds to what we're about to hear. In order to do this, we have to develop a stillness within ourselves. And so I think of the principles of yoga. Now, to be in yoga is not just to be incredibly bendy, although that's pretty awesome, actually. It really is. To be in yoga means that you set aside your ego, you release expectations, and you move to stillness. Now, as a yoga instructor, I often encourage my students to listen to their bodies. In order to do this, they need to set aside ego so they don't injure themselves. They have to release expectations so whatever needs to happen to them will happen. And when these paths are open, that's when they move to stillness. In that stillness, we realize that we don't have to splinter ourselves at all. We can develop a clarity that enhances everything we do. And only through that stillness do we understand that when we give our undivided attention to someone, we're richer because of the value we give them. So when you make an intent to set aside ego and release expectations and truly listen to someone else's story, you reach a higher level of communication that opens a great world of possibilities. You develop an exchange that allows everyone to be seen, heard, and valued. We all like to be seen. How many times have you felt like you weren't heard because someone simply didn't pay attention to you? How many times have you felt that it didn't matter what you did because no one acknowledged it? And we all like to be heard. How many times have you been in a situation where you can say something and someone acknowledges it in such a way that you don't need to elaborate anymore? The connection is made. You are seen and you are heard. And when you're seen and when you're heard, then you are valued and you are loved and you are appreciated. And with that is something that we are all trying to accomplish for each other. I love those fingers, I really do. And they're not mine, they're not mine. So when you can show appreciation for your colleagues, when you can show value to your clients, when you can show people how deeply you love those in your deeper relationships, just because you take the time to see them and to hear them. And if we do that for each other, consciously make a decision to do that, then we all benefit. That's a pretty cool family right there. So, mindful listening and mindful communication allows us to be seen, heard, and valued. So in your next conversation, set aside your ego and be still. Give that other person the grace of your undivided attention. And trust that you have a relationship that no matter what happens, you'll get your chance. And if you don't, that's okay too, because you've given the gift of listening. When you had a chance in your conversation to really listen, set aside your expectations. Often we're constantly thinking of what we're going to say before the other person has even finished talking. So, paraphrase. Repeat what they said when you enter the conversation, and that way you assure them that you heard what they said and they feel understood. When to mindfully listen, really see your partner. Look into their eyes, notice how they crinkle at the corners, or see how broadly they smile when they're genuinely pleased. Really look beyond the words and hear the emotion. Really listen with intent to your partner. Often our minds start to craft that response before they finish speaking, so don't do that at first. Again, repeat, paraphrase, really listen, and hopefully by your example, they'll give you the same. 2 simple things: encouraging people to know that they are seen and assuring them that they are heard. If we all make a conscious decision to do this for one another, just imagine how much richer our lives will be. And when we have that opportunity to see each other and hear each other, and we can share our expressions and emotions in a way that is truly authentic, then there's really no limit to what we're going to learn from each other and within ourselves. So I encourage you, take your time, be still. Thank you for listening.